the British Transport Police and TfL enforcement officers have been stopping people getting on buses or asking them to leave, including the underground, if they're not wearing a face mask and not got a good reason. So far, the BTP, British Transport Police, and our enforcement officers have spoken to more than 60,000 commuters. And of those they've spoken to, more than 4,000 were asked to were refused entry onto the underground or buses. More than 1,000 were asked to leave a bus or the underground, and more than 300, in fact 303 the last time I checked, fixed penalty notices have been issued. If a bus driver or a member of staff sees somebody not wearing a face covering and they have a conversation with them and they've not got a good reason not to wear them, they contact the enforcement officers or BTP to take action. And just to reassure you, Sheridan, I'm not sure your experience I'd be keen to hear from you in a second, your experience on the bus. The numbers we have, and I was on the tube this morning and everyone I saw was wearing a face mask on the tube this morning, are 90% of people are wearing face masks. 5% have got a good reason not to wear them for a medical reason or, respiratory issues or whatever. It's 5% haven't got a good reason not to wear a face mask and are not wearing one, and we've got to take action against those, and we are trying to enforce more against that 5%.
How?
By continuing to have more enforcement. So
what happens if it's me? What can be done to me? Because in Spain it's €100 on the spot.
Yeah, it's a similar fine here.
Okay.
But what happens in real time is you get on a bus, refuse to wear a face covering, the bus driver radios ahead to the control room, and then a BTP officer or an enforcement officer gets on the bus later on down the line, and the fixed penalty notice that I talked about, there's been 303 on transport. That leads to a fine. If you pay within 14 days, it's £50. If you pay after 14 days, £100, and it can go up to thousands of pounds if you refuse to pay or a persistent offender.
I mean, I sense you're generally quite pleased with the take-up rate. Sheridan is having down in Dagenham is having a slightly different experience. I presume you
want to hear Sheridan from you.
What are you seeing? What's happening on your bus?
Sadiq, I'm really sorry, but that's really not true. I think if you really believe that, we should start tagging you on Instagram or Twitter when experiences on the bus, because I know for a fact that the bus driver just playing the recording of wearing a mask and the stickers on the windows is really not doing it. I actually wanted to tip a bus driver the other day who actually stopped the bus personally told somebody, if you're not wearing a mask, go upstairs. If you are wearing, I
so you want the bus drivers to do more?
No, I don't. I don't think it's fair that they have to.
No.
But what I mean is, I really love that this bus driver cared enough to go over and above to protect those of us who don't want to die. Himself included. I can't believe some bus drivers are not.
But what are you, Sheridan? So I don't want to. What are you cross about, if you don't mind me asking, in the context of the mayor's response?
Because if he really believes that only 300 people that have been fined are the ones that have broken the rules, go on a night bus.
So that's what I was trying to ask you. I said, give me an estimate of the numbers that you're witnessing.
I would say 15 people on my bus journey home last night did not have it on.
That's half.
I mean, I've got videos of it. I've got an Instagram dedicated to taking pictures of people that I see not wearing masks. I really can't believe how much the rules are being broken.
This tallies with what I'm hearing anecdotally as well. Who's doing the counting?
Fine. So, TfL and Underground and BTP. So Sheridan, look, do tag me. So when people tweet me these sort of pictures, I send them on to TfL and they follow it up and they do personally tweet individuals. So Sheridan, if you don't mind, rather than using Insta because it's quicker if you just tweet me or you can Insta me, it doesn't matter. I'll make sure TfL look it up. Before you hang up, speak to James O'Brien's team to let me know the buses you use, because we'll make sure we have more enforcement in East London if it is the case in Dagenham. Just to give you an idea, James, the numbers we have are accurate figures from, we have a weekly tally. And so when I refer to the 60,000 plus conversations, not every conversation leads to a fixed penalty notice, because sometimes people are persuaded to do the right thing. If they don't, they're asked to leave or refuse to enter. If that doesn't work, they're given a fixed penalty notice. But Sheridan, the numbers I have of a 90% compliance.
A lot of scepticism coming in, Sadiq Khan, on these numbers.
No,
a lot of scepticism. Let me just read you a few. I know the plural of anecdote is...
Let us know what buses they are and we'll take action.
Okay, utter rubbish, Sadiq Khan on LBC. Bus drivers are just letting people on without masks, doing and saying nothing. It seems if you don't want to wear a mask, then you simply don't have to. Our bus passed a lot of enforcement officers who didn't do anything. There's quite a few coming in like this, and how do you check that someone is okay not to wear a mask? Who checks? So there's an operational problem with it, and that someone has just gone back from Amsterdam where absolutely everybody was wearing a mask on a bus. The situation in London is close to the polar opposite. I'm not getting. I don't know if I would get anybody getting in touch.
On the Amsterdam point, it's very important to say. On the Amsterdam point, and our colleagues around the world, actually, there's been face masks being worn there since March.
Yes.
But also it's not just on public transport. You'll be aware, James, the conversation we've had about the mixed messaging and the confused comms. It was only very recently where it was obligatory to wear a face covering just on public transport, and then it went to shops. And what's happened in Amsterdam, in Paris, in Berlin, in Seoul, in other parts of the world, those of you who are tweeting James, is for a number of months now, in fact for 5 months, it's been the cultural norm to wear a face covering. So on public transport in those cities and countries, that is the cultural norm. In London, it's only on public transport where you're asked to do so. Until recently, it's now shops, and so that number's going to go higher, I hope. But listen, all of us have a responsibility to do the right thing. If we don't wear a face covering, we are more likely to give somebody the virus. And the important number for those of your listeners who are responsible to bear in mind is you've got a 70% chance of passing on the virus if you've got it, if you don't wear a face mask. It's only 5% if you do. And that's why it's really important to do the responsible thing, because you may be asymptomatic or pre-symptomatic, is wear a face mask.